Okay. So I have my data loading, right? Let's now go to the document and really understand what it is that we're trying to do. So, like we said, this project is going to cut across four metrics. All right. Workshop, sorry. All right. We said for five analysis actually. First of all, we need to break this project into the following metrics. One is information related to customers metrics. Then the second is information related to retention. And the third is sales performance. So let's start with the document. And I think the document also takes us into the the customers metrics first. So we're looking at the revenue, which is the total revenue that the business has made. All right. And I think we should even visit our business process to so which customer generates the highest lifetime value? So definitely we're going to come back to lifetime value that we have under the customer metrics. And then we have another question that says, which customer shows early churn signal? Now, anything that has to do with churn and all that, we have it under the retention metrics. So we're still going to have to come back to this churn guy. All right. Then we're still going to answer the next question. Which sales rep generates highest quality revenue? Well, regarding to sales guy that generate the highest quality revenue, total revenue per sales rep is going to help us with that information. So already we have that business question captured under our sales performance metrics. Then our fifth question. Okay, first question. Which region and product category performs best? Well, when we go through our sales performance, we're going to find out um, information about regions and categories and all. That's going to be inside our sales performance. I just had to write these four metrics just to capture what I have in mind. All right, just to capture what I have in mind. But if you go this document to slide 12, then yeah, okay. I think I had not captured it yet. It was still in my mind when I thought about that. All right, then the last question: how does revenue changes over time? The sales performance is going to help us know how revenue changes over time. So, to an extent, we're still on the same track. So, how do we find out revenue? First of all, we just need to, you know, find out what our total revenue is. Now, when I want to do this total revenue, I will prefer to use the data model measure. I'll prefer to use the measure in the data model when I want to model my data. So I'm going to skip this guy. Now, why am I skipping this guy? Don't forget, this value, which is revenue calculation, is an aggregate value, right? It's not going to end up adding a column to my data. It's going to give me a single value. So I'll prefer to use the measure approach in when I'm modeling my data. So because of that, I'm going to skip doing that revenue calculation. Okay. I'm going to skip doing the revenue calculation. All right. Um, or you know what? Let's just do it. It's still going to reflect when we model the data. So I think that's fine. Yeah, let's just do it. So for us to work with that will mean I am going to create a new sheet, which I will refer to as my Jordan. All right. So for me, I want to find out the total revenue. All right. So that will be equals to sum. I'm gonna apply the sum on my revenue on my table, and yeah. right? Then pretty much I'll still come back to format my numbers properly. Okay, so let's just do the values first. So based on my document, we are currently working on our core calculations and logic. Okay, so we know how to yeah.
8,000,
Okay.
8 million. So the total revenue
Okay, so this is
is,
what
let
I
me
did. I
quickly
did
go back.
reference. Yeah, so what I did was that I did reference cell. Yeah, I had this cell as my as where I want to do my reference, my calculation, and then I referenced this sheet that has my transaction data, where my revenue column is, which is here. All right, and then I just select that column. And oh, sorry, I missed putting some. All right, so let's do it again. So I'm gonna do equals to sum. Skip this time. I'm gonna do equals to sum. All right, and then I would switch to my transaction table because that's where I have my revenue. I could switch to my transaction table. Now, once I switch to my transaction table, what I just need to pay attention now is my formula bar. Yeah. So I'm just going to go to the column that has the revenue and select it. Then go back to my formula bar, and then I can choose to close my function and run it. And then the value reflects here on my jotting sheet. You get
It's not working for me.
it's not working for you.
Yes.
I wish I can even ask people to share their screen. You know what? Do you want to share a screen? Are you there?
I say yes, although I'm using my phone, not my laptop. So I'm using
Okay.
my laptop to work, then I'm watching the video from my,
Tell me what you're
in the
entering.
class. Okay, the thing is, I'm at, I'm trying to get this total revenue. You said equal to sum. Then I should go to
Mm.
the sheet of transaction data, right?
Then select the column that you're interested in.
Okay,
Then go to your
I'm
formula
doing it
bar
now.
at the top and close your bracket there.
Still not going to. Can I just, let me just check the screen.
That's going to slow down my section because you're
No
not
problem.
joining.
Then after the class, I'll
Yeah, after
just
class you can show me.
catch you up after the class.
Promise. I would stay behind to catch up. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
So once I have this value, I can then go back to my documents. Don't forget, documents is what is guiding us. The next information we want to do is to understand customer lifetime revenue. Now, what does this mean? Right now, what am I even doing? How do I know this is the next thing I'm supposed to do? Well, based on the slide that we're working on, we've been able to specify what our analysis should look like. All right. We said we wanted to answer these five business questions, and we've been able to represent these five business questions into the following metrics. Right. So that metrics just customer generates the highest lifetime value. Right now, we're getting into the heart of our business question. Now, you need to understand what is lifetime value. Because when you understand what is lifetime value, it will make more sense to you on what it is that you're trying to do. If you go to the next, I think slide 12, slide 12, let's look at the definition of lifetime value. Right now, 3, 2, 1, 0. Customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value revenue, which is a revenue metrics, measures the total value generated by a customer since acquisition. What does that mean? It means since the first day this customer walked in the store, and made a purchase. From that time till when this data was collected, what is the total revenue that has been made on this customer's head? Are we together? So it means we want to sum up all the revenues that are unique to this particular customers. I mean, that is unique to a particular customer. So if we go to our table, all right, under our customer data, we have information about the customer, and each of these ID represent a unique customer, right? Each of the ID represents a unique customer. We don't have duplicates. Good. Now, this guy, all right. Now, each of these, I mean, these are customers. And if we go to the transaction table, we can trace that this customer with ID 1, which is David Hassan, if we try to know how many transactions have this, can we track to this customer? All right. So I can literally sort this data by, I can sort this data by customer ID. Yeah, I can sort the data by customer ID. Let's try it. Um, I'm going to use custom sort so I can sort column wise. So I will sort customer ID and I will start. Well, it's okay to start from the smallest step. So you see that this customer, Omar Smith, this is the number of transactions that we can map to him. So it means from the time this data was collected, we have seen this guy visit the store 3 times. Are we together? Hey guys. Hello. Should I just go along and not carry everybody along? I don't think
There
that would be.
with you.
All right, cool. Thank you. So we can see that this guy, 3 transactions is mapped to him. Now, what customer lifetime value is saying is the revenue that we made on this guy was the total revenue. We do again for another customer with ID 4. We do again with another customer ID 5. We do for customer ID 6. So some customers only visit the store once, as at when this data was collected, and then some customers visit the store twice, and some customers visit the store as about let's say 4 times. Okay. So being able to add up the revenue per customer is what is referred to as our customer lifetime value. Does that make any sense to us? So I'm going to do that calculation here. All right. I'm going to do that calculation here under the customer data. Sorry. I'm going to do that calculation here under the customer data so that I can map this to each of the unique customer. Does that make any sense to us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's try it. So that means I'm going to now, would this be a measure? Will this be an aggregate function, or would this require that I create a new column in my data? Who's here with us? Would this require I create a new column in my data, or is it just an aggregate value? Any thoughts? Thoughts? Thoughts?
Please, please, could you repeat the question? I missed that.
Okay. Based on what we're trying to do, which is the customer lifetime value. Yeah, we said the customer lifetime value is revenue made. Customer lifetime value revenue measures the total value generated by a customer since acquisition. And then when we try to look at the logic of our table, we discover that on our transaction table, we can find the same customer and map 3 transactions to him because we have the transaction ID. Now, can we now say that because we want to find out the lifetime value, would that require us to create a new column in our table or just a value? Will it be a value or will it be a column in our table? And why are we choosing to do this on customer table? Sorry, not the sales, customer table. Why am I choosing to do this on the customer table?
Okay, if we are to get the value for all of the customers, I think we should create a column. But if it's just for a specific customer, I think we should just aggregate it. And it should be on the customer table.
All right. Yes. Well, we are going to be aggregating each transaction based on the customer ID. So it's a combination of the both. What you just said, it's a combination of both. So I'm going to just create a column here. But then pivot table. I mean, my data is in table. How would like just create a value and it will become a table? Good. I can create a value and it will become a table, right? So I'm just going to call this customer. Let's use an underscore. Not true. Customer underscore life underscore time. Actually, lifetime is one word. Underscore revenue, right? So let's do that. So how are we going to do that? So we're going to say some if sum the revenue based on the sum the revenue, yeah, sum the revenue based on the customer range in this transaction table that we can find here. So it means I'm going to have to sort my data by ID here, and I'm going to also sort my data by transaction ID, by customer ID here too, right? I'm going to have to sort my data by customer transaction ID here. All right. This is just to make it easy. It does not mean that if I don't sort it, I'm not going to get the results. I'll still get the same results. All right. So let's try it. So I'm going to say equals to what formula will help us to do that? So that will be sum if, right? So I'm going to say sum ifs. All right. It's asking for the same sum range. So I'm going to select my revenue under the transaction. All right. And then I'll put my comma in my formula bar, on my formula bar. Criteria range. My criteria range is going to be my customer ID. So I'm going to select this colon. Ah, my criteria range. Yeah. I'm correct. This guy. Okay. And then I'll put my comma. And then my criteria itself would now be my customer ID under the customer data, which is this guy. Okay. So let's run it and let's see what we have. Of course, we have 0 for customer ID 1, we have 0 for customer ID 2, but for customer ID 3, we have about 5,697. Why? Because in the transaction ID, when we sort the data, we don't have customer ID from 1, 2, but we have from 3 downward to 1,999. Did we get what we just did, or should I do it again?
Please do it again.
All right. So I'm just going to undo every. Now, don't forget what we want to do. We want to sum up. That means I'm going to say, go to the transaction table based on this customer ID. Yeah, the customer ID are unique. It's fine. I'm going to say, go to the customer ID. Go to the transaction table based on this customer ID and add up all the revenue that belong to that ID one. Does that logic make any sense to us? That's what we want to do. We want to say, go to the transaction table. We're currently in the customer table. We're saying, go to the transaction table and add up all the revenue that belongs to this ID. Do the same for customer ID 2. Do the same for customer ID 3. So what Excel did was it went to the table, picked the revenue, and tried to find where the ID is 1. It did not see, and then it returned 0 to us. So let's try it again. So I'm going to say that will be sum if. I'm going to be saying sum ifs, which is a logical aggregate, range, which is the revenue I'm interested in, of course. So I'll choose that column revenue. I'll go to my formula bar, put a comma. Criteria range, meaning where am I doing this? I'm interested in the customer ID. So I'll select that column, go to my formula bar, put a comma again. And then the last information is saying is criteria, meaning what do you want me to find in these 2 columns that you've given me? Then I will go to the customer table and say find based on the value on sale. That's all. Then I close my brackets and run it, and it returns these values. So this is my customer lifetime value. All right. This is my customer lifetime revenue. Sorry. Yeah, this is my customer lifetime revenue. Okay. So it means that as at when this data was collected, the company or the business has made 5,679,000 profits, 97,000 profits on Omar Smith. But the company hasn't made any revenue on this guy, and the company hasn't made any money on this guy. So even though we have their customer information, they've not transacted with the business. Does that make any sense to us? Hey guys, are we together? All right. So isn't it your hand is up here?
Yes, please. I wanted to ask if you're recording the session.
Oh yes, I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Right. So now we've done that, understand the interpretation, because that's another thing about, when you have a guided document working with you, or when you have a project you're working on, you've done the calculation. Can you interpret this value? Remember that we have 4 stakeholders that we're going to be communicating our analysis to. So you want to know this project at the back of your fingers and understand what it is you're getting as you try to analyze the data. All right. So let's go back to our document. And I think we've been able to do the first one, which is our customer lifetime value. But is that where it all ends? No. Let's go back to our document. Now, based on our document, the next thing we want to know is our recency calculation. What is recency calculation? Because the document, so what does it? Let's go back to the slide. Now, recency calculation says recency measures how recently a customer made a purchase. How recently a customer made a purchase. Meaning, meaning, if we look at we want to know how many days between when to when did this transaction, between when to when, how many days from his last purchase till now. All right. Meaning, as at the last time he purchased from us till now, how many days is that? What does that mean? It means if a particular customer recency day is more, is a large number, it means that we're losing this customer. But if its recency day is maybe small, maybe 5, 10, you can just say it's just 1 week and it's not yet 2 weeks that he last bought from us. But if his recency day is going to like 150, and that's what is important to marketing. I mean, follow up. Sorry, follow up. Because if you should be able to do effective follow up with customers, you need to be able to measure how many days from now, how many days from when they last transacted with us till now. How was the days difference? All right. And that's what we are hoping to get out of this. So first of all, we need to find the we need to find, let me go to my data. Um, so let's look at the transaction date. Of course, you will agree with me that date variable is a very important information here for us, right? So the we're looking at the transaction date as at when this customer made this transaction. This was the date he made this transaction. All right. What would now be the date to determine when he made this transaction till now? What will be the now? Like, what will be the recent? What will be the dates representing our recent information? Now, let's observe. I think the idea here is observation. This transaction was done in on the 12th of January 2022, 21. Sorry, I'm looking at Omar. All right, I'm looking at Omar. This other transaction was 23rd of January 2023. This other transaction is 31st of May 2023. So I would say this is a more recent date compared to what we're looking for, compared to others, right? Now, let's now go to the information about when the customer was acquired. Now, look at the date that this same customer was acquired, which is Omar Sweets. It was acquired on the 28th of 8th, 2024. Okay, that's when he was acquired. Now, let's try something. If I Okay, so let's compare this. This was the date he was acquired, 28th of 2024. And then the transaction date is, so can you see that which date is older? Is it transaction date or acquisition date? Let me see who's following me. Hello,
Transaction date looks older.
right?
2022.
Transaction date is showing us that the last time he transacted with the business was 2003, June. May 2023. And then when it was acquired was 2024. This date doesn't make sense because acquisition date should be the date you first transacted in the business, right? That date is the date of acquisition. And then transaction date is as at maybe you placed an order or you've been buying transaction and the days of the individual transaction is captured as transaction date. So what can we do with this information? If our recency dates, if our acquisition date is more recent than the transaction date. Oh my. Does anybody think what I'm thinking? Now, most time, most time, we because this date is acquisition date, all right. Because this date is acquisition date, it will mislead us. I mean, if I know okay, look at the dates that okay, I'm thinking something now. I cannot say that this is the first day he made a transaction, right? I can't say this is the first day. So it means in a real case, for me to be able to calculate my recency, I need to use the date as at when the report is required. Now I'm going to discard this acquisition date because this date does not help the business. Let's be honest, this date does not help the business right now. Because if this date is the acquisition date, it's just the date of acquisition. It doesn't help with recency. So for recency, we need to be able to subtract the last date of transaction from the current date, meaning as at now that we're speaking. Are we together? All right. So first, let's find out what will be what should be the recent date for this customer now? So what should be the recent date? Meaning, what should be the let's say last transaction date. So for me, I would say this is his last transaction date. Um, another last transaction date. Okay. All right. Last transaction date. So first of all, let's try to extract his last transaction date. Because you know that each of these guys have different days of transaction. All right. So it means I need to be able to look at all these dates and extract the maximum out of Omar. I need to extract his maximum. Now, normally I would normally I can just copy this date and say, oh, this is his last transaction date. But we need to use a measure. We need to like calculate that value so as to make our work more, dynamic and make our work more dynamic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the customer data. I will try to zoom in a bit just to help with the visuals and keep my eyes up. So let's calculate this last transaction date. So I'm going to say, which measure do I use to be able to extract the latest dates from his transaction dates? Is anybody thinking of a measure? What measure can I use to do that? What measure can I use to do that? Don't forget to, let's get the thinking. I'm saying, look at transaction. Look at the dates that Omar transacted. I want to get the maximum date here. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to get the maximum date. I want to say, give me the highest dates for this guy, which is the recent date, right? Which is the recent date. That's what I want to do. Okay. So, uh, yeah. So let's try it first. So I'm gonna go back to my guy, and I will do equals to max based on the condition. So that's going to be max if, because I'm doing this based on the condition of their customer ID. So I'm going to say max if, right? I'm going to say max if. All right. Now, for my max if, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? I need to know the date of transaction. So I'm going to select my transaction dates. All right. So that will be my maximum range. I'll put a comma. The next information is my criteria range, right? I'm going to choose this customer ID. All right, I'll put my comma. And then for the criteria I'm interested in, which is customer, I'll just come back to the customer table and choose customer ID. So let's run this. Now, look at the way the dates is showing. Of course, this is date value. Let's convert this date to actual dates. So I'm going to do it on the first value. I would right click and okay, I'll just do this. I'll change it to dates. Click on this guy. Hold on. Cell, format cell. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's do it again. I'll do it on this guy first. Um, Format cell. Then I'll choose dates. Uh, I could use the first one or the last one. I'll just use the first one. Now, normally this guy is 0, right? So this is already misleading because the transaction date for is not recorded. So maybe I should try selecting the entire column and apply date function on it. So let's just use custom. I have the month here. All right. So any dates that you have as 0, it means that that person does not, like, we don't have his date of transaction. All right. So this is 31st May 2023. Let's confirm it here. Omar, 31st May 2023. Okay, so we're correct then. So this is his last date of transaction. All these guys with zero, they don't matter because we don't have the date that they transacted. All right. We don't have the dates that they transacted. So what can we do? Anyway, I'll leave that guy. I'll leave it that way. I wanted to write an if error, but I guess I'll just leave it. Yeah, I'll leave it. Are you sure you will leave it, Timothy? So if I don't think it's an error, but no, I'll come back to it. Let's stick to the analysis first. I will still put my work in order. So now we have the last date of transaction for each of the customers. All right, each of these guys, we have the last date that they transacted in the business. This is just the last date. We need this date to be able to get our recency. All right. So as at when this data is collected, how do we find our recency? Okay. So our recency days now will now be recency. I'm going to be using the current data that's when this analysis is going on. All right. I'm going to be using the current data that's when this analysis is going on. So that will be all right. Hmm. Okay, so let's do this. How do we calculate this guy now? How do we calculate this guy? So that would be dated if, right? Yeah, that would be dated if. So we want to subtract today's date as at the date we are analyzing this data, or the date that we're supposed to report to the organization, all right? Or the date at which the business is closing accounts for a particular case, whatever the case may be. We're not sure. We don't know. We don't want to get into it. All right. So I'm just going to say equals to dated if. All right. So I'm going to say this value minus. No, I think I need to use the recent dates. I just thought of something. So I'm supposed to use the last transaction. I'm supposed to use the recent date. So I'm going to say today. Who remembers today's function? This guy. I'll use today minus this date of transaction. Let's see what we get. Hey, wait. Say it doesn't even make sense. Okay, I'm supposed not to put that today. Missing, what am I missing? Missing. Could it be the opposite? I'm not sure it could be the opposite. But let's try the opposite. This guy minus today's date. It doesn't even make sense. But then I know it doesn't make sense. So now what I'm thinking is because of this value, right? I think it's this value that is causing the hold up. Yeah, we're correct in the first one, which is our today minus the value. Analyze data. Yeah, this is correct actually. Hmm. Let me try something. If we were not doing it on that guy that is zero, what would that be? Probably equals the 30 today minus this guy. Formula is missing an opening parenthesis. Let's open parenthesis. Oh, okay. Okay, I think I know what's going on. Okay, let me just have it properly written. This guy minus this guy. You've entered too many arguments for this function. Really? Okay. Hmm. Am I missing Timothy? Hey guys, are we there? So just quiet as if I'm shamed. I'm preaching the gospel. I'm trying to find out like what am I missing in this guy. Data diff is the difference now. Can I be wrong? Wait, let me try this again. Erase. Let's do it again. Okay. So that would be data diff. Mhm. Let's say today. Okay. Oh yeah. I just remember. I was supposed to have a comma. Timothy, you were supposed to have a comma. All right. I was supposed to have a comma, then I'm supposed to now have the day. Yeah. I presumed that was going to be the error. So let's do the reverse. The third if. So that would be this guy, comma, today, then the representation. Exactly. All right. So this is what we send. Okay. Now, you and I will agree with me that this 46,000 is just a scam. It's a very misleading value because our calendar is already wrong. All right. So this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to undo this guy just to make sure that I don't get the wrong value. All right. I would add a column here. All right. Okay. I'll see what I want to do. I'll do equals to. No, that's not what I want to do. That will be equals to if the guy is equals to 0, return 0, else return this guy. Hey guys, are we together? What I did did not work. What I did not work. Okay. What if I say if this guy is equals to a very funny date, that will be dates equals to the year is 00, the month is January, and the day is 0, then return 0. Anyway, I don't go do rubbish. I need to find a way to not allow this because recency is saying this guy is except what I'm thinking now is except we can actually work with what we have. Okay. Except we can work with what we have, but we're not going to use this column. Instead, we're going to say recency recency underscore days. Okay. Instead, we're going to say this. I'm going to say equals to if this guy is equals to 46095. All right. Print 0, else print what is there. Exactly. So I feel like instead of having to work with this guy, so I'll just call this guy rough. Like I'll just say something like no, and then I'll use this guy as the actual guy. Okay. Then then um um I can choose to hide this guy. But if I hide this guy, if we get to the modeling, Excel will still see it, you know. There is a it's a big file. Just see it. But then we'll come back to it somewhere. So we know that this is our recency. All right. I would have loved to like sort this recency, but then if I sort it, me, I'm trying to work with customer ID. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Like I said, I am thinking on the spot. So you might want to just forgive any imperfection. Yeah, this is a pre-recorded workshop. All right. Okay. Are we together? Did we get what I did? Hey, Jesus, everybody, don't go sleep. Chimo. Workshop I've dropped. Hey guys, are we still together? At least let me carry us along. Yeah. I'm sorry. Can anybody hear me? Hello? I don't want us to react. I want to hear from us to know where we are stuck and where we got. Where did we get? Where are we stuck? Okay. Who is practicing? Oh, Vera, you're practicing. Oh, interesting. Okay. Vera, where are you? Vera Fana. Talk to me. Where are you? Okay. Let's still cook this guy. Me, I'm not done. No. I still have like 4 other guys to cover. We just did recency. I still have frequency. I still have monetary calculation. I still have ROFM. Only when I'm done with these guys, I can now move to the sales analysis. Remember, we have 3 guys. That is our consign. One is yeah, these are our 3 musketeers. We're currently working on the customer metrics. We've talked about the customer lifetime. We've talked about customer purchase frequency. I mean, we're going to the frequency. We've talked about customer recency. All right. What is left for us to sort now will be the customer monetary value and the customer frequency. And then we're done with the metrics that we need to regarding to customers. Then we will move to retention, and then we'll move to sales performance. So Vera, where are you stuck, or you're not stuck at all? You great, right?
I'm stuck though. It's just that you're just a bit fast. I was trying to get the formulas for the customer lifetime before I could just type. You already done, then you move to the next
Oh, yeah, let me say the
one.
customer lifetime again. So what I did with the customer lifetime is I did the sum if. All right, I did the sum if on the revenue column first. I did. And then I also selected the column that had the customer ID under the transaction table. These two are transaction table. Then I came to the customer table and referenced the customer ID. Did you get that?
You said you used equal to sum if, then you went to
Mhm.
transaction table.
The
What
revenue.
transaction table? Still the main sheet.
You said what?
It's still is it the transaction table for is it customer data?
No, 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 no. Oh, where I'm doing the calculation or where I'm referencing.
Yes, where you're referencing.
Oh, I'm referencing the transaction table where there is the revenue information.
Oh, okay, okay.
Have you seen your revenue?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's cook. Now, 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 now. All right, let's further ahead. So we've been able to compute, where's my document? Blank, blank. All right, so let's talk about the frequency calculation now. What is frequency, first of all, right? So if we go back to our documents, so in slide 12, we have information about frequency. Frequency measures how often a customer purchases. All right. Of course, these are information that is really important to every e-commerce or any CRM platform. All right. If you're going to be a valuable analyst, or if you're going to contribute to, or if you have a project that is focused on CRM and you're able to show like that experience on your portfolio, it's actually a very strong experience, especially if you're someone that you're very interested in e-commerce. Like e-commerce is an industry that you're very interested in. This project is actually very solid. I just wish a lot of people are part of this, right? But then it's fine. I get sometime, someday, this is going to be important to some of us. For now, priority, whatever is our priority right now. All right. So trying to find out recency, what does that mean for us? Now, recency is a function of, let's look at it again. It says, how often is this customer, or how often does this customer purchase? Right. So it means that we want to be able to track number of transaction that is unique to a particular customer, right? Meaning, if I go to this table now, I want to look at the customer ID and say how many transactions how many, how frequent has David Hassan purchased from this store? How frequent is Omar Smith? All right. How frequent is Mary Moyo? Right. I'm concerned about how frequent have these guys purchased. All right. So it means what we're saying is go to the transaction table and check how many times this particular ID appear. So if I'm interested in ID 6, I'm going to say go to this transaction table and tell me how many times did ID 6 appear. It appears once. So it means the frequency of this customer is 1, because tracking his transaction, we can only see that this is the only time he has transacted on the business as at when this data was collected. Are we together? All right. I wish it was a classroom that I had to teach this. I promise you, everybody will share a screen. What is a workshop? Well, we have a 60 days program that is coming up where I'm going to like focus on project for the next 60 days. So maybe that would be a lot of value. In fact, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's the one I'm looking forward to. I'm just going to focus on 5 different projects. We're going to work on projects in CRM. We're going to work on projects in healthcare. We're going to work crazy project that you probably don't even expect that this is the way the projects will go. Promise can already be a witness. I mean, there was one of the project that we were working on one of our course platform, and it was like a very crazy experience. Although we've not even like, my bad. I was the one that has not gotten back to Promise on the correction on that project, right? But what I'm saying is, there are projects that makes your portfolio convincing, that even brings out your skills and test your knowledge. But if that project, if you've not had experience with a project like that, you would not really know how crazy is the thinking that comes to like trying to solve problems in real case industry. All right, so that's what I'm really looking out for. Now, looking at the time that I have, I'm not sure I can complete this project. So it's possible we might have the return of this project workshop next weekend. All right, it's possible we may have the return of this project. We definitely have it because um the objective is not being achieved, and when I'm not achieving my objective, then I don't see reason to just end something. All right, so it's possible we might spread this workshop into like a couple of days, maybe 2 more days, but it's not going to be like these 2 days in a week. It might just be maybe next Friday or Friday. I'll do a poll on the community to know what most of us think. Okay, let me shut up and focus on this project. All right, so back to what we're doing. What we're trying to say is, Excel, go to the transaction table. Tell me how many times this transaction ID occurs. So Excel takes the transaction ID 5, goes to the transaction table, and try to look for how many times transaction 5 has occurred. Transaction 5 has occurred just once. And so it will return here and say, oh, your frequency is 1. So it means I'm going to add a column here called frequency. Are we together? All right, I'm gonna add another column here called frequency. So let's try to wrap this guy up. Okay, okay. All right, so let's do it. What formula are we going to use to find recency? I mean frequency. All right. Frequency is number of transaction per customers, right? So how do we find out that? It means I'm going to say count how many times you find 3. That's what I'm saying. Count how many times. So that will be because I'm counting, I'm saying find out how many times this guy appear. I'm going to say count ifs. Yeah, I'm going to use the count. Yeah, I'm going to use the count ifs. So let's do the count if. It says criteria range. Where is my criteria range? Can anybody tell me just to be sure? Where's my criteria range? Which data am I interested in? Or what data am I looking for? The value. Rita is still on the call. Well, of course, we're looking at customer ID and we're looking at the transaction that tracks the customer ID. So it means our information will be referenced in the transaction and we will be focusing on the ID. So that's going to be our criteria range. And then when we're now looking for the criteria, we'll come back to the customer and say, look for this particular ID, which is 1. All right. So it tells us the frequency for ID1 is 0. You know what? Let me even do this. I'm gonna freeze this ID. This guy is pissing me off. It's becoming like the most important variable for this customer. So I'm going to use my freeze span and I'll use freeze first column. So that way, if I scroll down my data, I'm going to see I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. So now I can see, okay, I think I should do the name and the ID together. Okay, so I'm going to undo whatever I just did, and I will do it on this. So I'm going to click here, and I'll click on freeze span. Let me on freeze first. I'll click here, and I'll click on freeze first row. Oh, see me. I was supposed to click the first guy, which is freeze span. Yeah, I was supposed to click the freeze span. So if I scroll down my data, I have the ID and the name frozen. All right. So we have the customer ID, we have the customer name, and we have the frequency. Now, I'm tempted to want to sort this data, but let me see who the highest frequency is. So the highest frequency is 6. All right. And 6 is just two customers. Just two customers. Interesting. So that is my frequency. Let's now go back to our document. So we've been able to calculate our frequency calculation. We've done our frequency calculation. All right, frequency calculation. Let's go back to our documents. What's the next thing for us? Our next thing is monetary calculation. Hmm, 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 hmm. Monetary calculation. Now, let's understand what is the meaning of monetary calculation. In our slide, it says monetary measures how much a customer spend. How much does a customer spend? How much does a customer spend? How much customer spend? Well, that means we are saying what is the total revenue made on this customer? Is that not similar to, okay, let me not talk. Is that not similar to, that's similar to something, right? It's similar to revenue for lifetime, right? It's similar to this guy. Let me do it first. So how do we even do this? How can we calculate the revenue from a customer? Of course, it's the same thing that we had when we did the CLV, which is the customer lifetime value. So I think they're both the same thing. Yeah, they're actually the same thing. If you think about it, they're actually the same thing. So it means this project just, it just English. You can just note that the monetary calculation and the customer lifetime value, they are the same. All right, so I'm just going to highlight them as this color. Now I'll highlight this one as this color. All right, let's erase. No, 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 no. All right, let's go to our ROFM score. What does this really mean? If you go to this slide, I kept a note. It says ROFM's logic. ROFM assigns score to customer based on ROFM, which is recency, frequency, monetary value. Recency, frequency, monetary value. That's RMF. So it means last, we need to create a monetary value. So what we could do even, we can assign our monetary value to be our, we can take our customer lifetime value. So nobody told me I did not put an O, right? It's not fair. All right. So we can take our customer monetary value, our customer lifetime value for our monetary value. All right. So I'm just going to come here, put slash, I'll just say underscore monetary. What is spelling of that monetary safe? I think it's ARY. Yeah, monetary calculation. Let's go. Yep. So this is our arrow. This is our arrow. This is our F. This is our M. So let's now create our ROFM score. We said the ROFM score is based on what now? Based on our recency, frequency, monetary value. That one is English. Let's understand what is really going on. Now, there's a KPI for this. We cannot just say that this is our recency or this is our frequency. We need to be able to measure this value. So let's pay close attention to what I'm about to do. All right. So let's create a scale. Let's say our recency, our ROFM score is a scale between 1 to 5. All right. So let's say our ROFM score. Let's say this guy is a function of is a scale between 1 to 5. All right, let's say the scale between 1 to 5. Let me even put it this way. So into brackets 1 to 5. All right. Let's say
Sorry,
this guy
sorry,
is
please.
okay.
I didn't get the formula for the frequency.
Frequency.
You,
Okay. Frequency is saying count the transaction that belongs to this ID. So that means you are selecting your transaction ID and you are referencing the ID in the customer table. So you can know how many of that, how many times did that particular transaction ID in the ID customer table appear in the transaction table. Does that make any sense?
oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Recency. We need to come up with this thing with a logic. Now that's why they call it RFM logic. Right? Hmm. How do we do this? How do we do this? Now we're going to create a scale. Yeah. I'm going to create a scale. I'll go to my jotter here and I'm going to create a RFM logic. R R Phyto RFM logic. Now this is the logic. I'm going to be using my recency. No, let me even write all of them. Recency, what else? Recency, frequency, and monetary. And it should give us what? Frequency, monetary, and this thing should give us score. All right, which is what we're looking for at the end of the day. Now, if you look at my recency, I want to know my minimum and my maximum. So I'm going to say minimum value and maximum value. So what's my minimum recency? That be equals to mean. I will go to the customer table and apply recency on this guy. It tells me 0, which is normal. Maximum 2000 kini. Let's do the same thing for our frequency. Let's do the same thing for our frequency. So I'm just going to use the to make this table automated. I'm going to use mean if. So I'm going to say equals to mean if minimum range for recency. I will say this guy. Come here. Let's say criteria range is mm, Uh, this guy. Timothy, you also just do one rubbish. Then my, then my, this guy with this guy. Oh, what doesn't even make sense. What I'm trying to do is, I don't have a column for qualitative information, so that's why I didn't even know what to do. Ah, the analysis is funny. Let's do what we know, Jerry. That's minimum. Give me the minimum on my recency. Give me the maximum on my recency. Wait, should be this guy now. If I do it on this guy, what happen? Your Kuro does not even know that he's dumb. So let's do maximum. All right, and then apply it on the customer. So let's do the same for frequency. Minimum. Of course, I expected 0. Then for maximum, I think maximum is going to be 6. Yeah. For monetary, hmm, 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 hmm. Let's see. Monetary, of course, we said monetary is going to be our customer lifetime value. So monetary should be 0 for minimum, and the maximum should be. Okay. Now, what is going to be our score matrix? How do we even define the score thing? All right. Now, there's a rule here that I want us to pay attention. Now, uh, uh, the rule is on increasing, because these numbers, if a number increases, if the recency increases, what does it mean? If the frequency increases, what does it mean? If the monetary value increases, what does this mean? That's what I want to capture here. All right, that's what I want to capture here. So we're saying that if the recency increases, hmm, if recency increases, this recency guy will increase based on based on this number will increase. Let's see cases where this number increase. Recency. The days that recency increases is because the date of last purchase is far away from the current date as of when the data was collected, which is today, right? Anyway, and I'm brethren, I promise I'll end the call in the next 3 minutes. Okay, promise you 3 minutes, right? So currently, what has led to having a high number of recency is because the day from when this transaction was asked as a report to when the customer made the last transaction, which is the last transacted date. That means if the day is increasing, that means if the date is increasing, if it's next week, of course, if it's next week and this customer has still not visited the store to buy something, this date will increase, right? It's increased by 120. That's 2 extra days, today and tomorrow. The more the recent day is changing, or the more we have a more recent day, the more our recency days will increase. So what is the factor that increases this guy? What in factors increases recency? What will increase recency is when our purchase is recent. So purchase is recent. that will increase. That will increase our recency. What will increase our frequency? Frequency will increase when there are more in purchases. Don't forget, right here, we have this recency to be 3 because Omar, we can track Omar has, transacting 3 times. So if his number of transaction increases, then our don't forget we are doing this is a logic. So you want to get the thinking. All right, you want to follow the thinking with me. Think what I'll do is I'll do this. I'll join this together. Yeah. So frequency will increase if the transaction increases. All right. So this will increase number of transaction. Increase when the number of transaction increases. Now, what about monetary? What will cause an increase in our monetary? Well, for monetary, what has led to this increasing? What has led to the customer lifetime number increasing? What has led to this increasing is based on revenue, right? Don't forget, we use the revenue, meaning if you buy more, then this customer lifetime value will increase. So for us to increase the customer lifetime value metrics, we need to increase our transaction capacity. That means how much value or how much does the customer spend more in our store. All right. So it means we need to start saying buy 5, get 1 free. Buy 10 and get a toothpick. Right. We need that kind of metrics. So that means the condition for increasing our monetary is when the spending of the customer increases. So let's just say spending increases. Okay, let's just say when spending increases. Okay. When number of transaction increases. And for this guy, when purchase is recent. So if this is our metrics, then what will now be our score for measuring our RMF on the scale of 1 to 5? So since we know our maximum number of recency, okay, of course, this number now, let's try to find out our recency. What is the distribution? What's the distribution? What's the distribution? So based on our distribution, we actually have a very crazy number. We have a crazy number. We have 0, we have 30. From 30, we are landing at, we didn't even go through 40. We just go, okay, we still have 40. Oh, wow, 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 wow. So we need to come up with a scale. All right. We need to come up with a scale. So it's either we say, from the scale of 0 to 100, from the scale of 101 to 500, from the scale of 501 to 900, from the scale of 901 to 1005, from the scale of 1005 upward. Yeah, I think that's what we should do. So let me capture the scale again. I think I'll just put it here. You know what? Enough power. I'll do this. I would use I would use um let me paste that value first. Sorry, I know I'm supposed to end this class by 9 and by 11. I just want to give this last scale before I leave this work in peace, because I will have peace of mind. I just have peace of mind when I decide to do something until I've done that thing. So let me find the range. Is it range? I think it's range. It's a random number. Let's say this guy, I don't know. Let's say this guy, I don't know where we did. Let me do range here. That will be equals to old minus new divided by old. Ah, that's true. Doesn't even make any sense. Okay, let's create a quarter. Let me use a quarter. So that will be equals to quartile. Quartile on this guy. Let's do the first quarter. So the first quarter will be 0. Okay. What about the second quarter? Second quarter will be this guy. So that means I'm going to say 0 to 100. Then let me do third quarter. This guy is just dumb. So 101 to, don't worry, I'll do it manually. 101 to 300, 301 to, no, if I do it like that, I'll not solve my problem. So this should be 1 to 500. This should be 501 to, now let's even be realistic. You know what? Let's be realistic. Normally, if you look at this data, our most, let's say for example, what I want to do, I have to talk it out. You know what? Let me do this. Equals to here. Okay. So I have 2010 to 2025. Ha ha ha. No wonder. No wonder the recency is going to 1,000. Ah, see now. And this is oh, no. I've used the wrong thing. This is the guy I wanted to use. Equals to here. Okay. 2026. Let's see. No wonder. You know what? We're going to have another workshop, right? Vera, isn't it? Are you guys here? I think you guys are like the only two people that I can
Yes,
predict that you're
I'm
on this
here.
call.
I'm here. Yeah.
Why you guys here? Why have you not gone? What do you want to learn again? Everybody has gone. Oh. I'm joking though. So the thing is, I don't want to just lodge. I don't want to just do the calculation and not teach you guys what I'm trying to do. So let's say today we were able to get information about what. Let's go back to our slide and let's just round up. We were able to get information about if you try to look at what we did here, about our customer metrics. So it means we've checked all of our customer metrics. What we want to do now our churn risk based on a score. So first I need to create a RMF score because that's what I'm going to now use to create my retention metrics. All right. So it means we've successfully done this guy. We're gonna have another workshop. I I would next weekend. Oh, I have to do it next weekend. You have to do it next weekend. I hate to start something and not finish it. So we're gonna have another workshop next weekend. But what do we think? Do you think we should have another workshop next weekend? You decide, and the general community will go with whatever we come up with. What do we say? Friday.
I think we should. So finish up.
I think we should, but first off, I would like you to post the videos, the recorded ones also, so we can still go through
And
it because I don't
slides.
want to be with yes, the slides also to also
Mm,
to also
okay.
help us.
All right. So I think that's actually a good one. The video should be available so that we can prepare ahead. All right. So the video will be available. I'll put it on YouTube so we can easily watch it and pause it without having to download the file. All right. So I'll put the video up by Sunday evening because I have 2 meetings to attend to this night before if I can do any other thing. So and then I'll go to bed and then early in the morning I'll be in church. Then I can now set it in the evening after 2 projects deadline to catch up on the recording. All right, guys, I think that was what I'm gonna do. So when should we meet? Saturday or Friday?
Friday.
Friday.
Friday is
All
fine.
right, so we'll meet on Friday next week by 9 o'clock. All right, guys, thank you for staying through to the end. Do you have a question for me?
I
No
don't really have a
question for now.
question. I don't really have a question, but this is where
It's deep.
No, as long as I'm the one handling the session, don't worry. I will try to make sure that we understand it to the last. All right. So just
Thank you.
just be a little bit relaxed because Timothy will still come back to finish what he started. All right. But just catch up, like you said, on the record, you catch up on the project on what you need to know and what you need to do. I'll make the slide available as a link because I'm still going to be editing this slide. So I'll share the link instead. And then the document, I believe everybody has it. And then is there need for me to upload my own Excel file?
I
yes,
don't think
please.
so.
Yes,
Okay, I'll follow the.
most of
I'll
the
use the
jotting.
video to.
Okay, the video will be there to
Anyway,
watch what exactly I did. All right, so I'll create a Drive link where the files will be available as a link, but the Excel file will be available, and then the video will be on YouTube. Thank you for creating a time to join. I truly appreciate your time, and I will see you next week. More updates on the community. Good night. Bye for now.
Thank you.
thank you.